Before we get into this, I do want to make this clear. I'm not a mindset coach. I don't want to be a mindset coach. These are just some tips and tricks that I've learned in my own business that have helped me scale my own companies to over $4 million in under 5 years. So I hope some of these things help you as well. All right. Hey, what's up, guys? Hey, I just wanted to make a brief video of mindset in business and how your mindset can ultimately be the thing that either makes you successful in business or makes you not successful. It's a lot more important than what people give it credit. And what I've noticed too is even though a lot of people say, or they think that they say that it is important, they don't treat it like it's important because they don't really spend any time into fixing it. But without further ado, let's dive in. All right, here we go. So the importance of mindset in business. So business needs action, and even more important, it needs directed action. We don't need to just be busy all day, but we need to be busy on important things that matter. So what governs what actions we take? Is it willpower? Is it motivation? Is it something else? And that's kind of what I wanted to talk a little bit about. And so in the very beginning of basically what causes your results. So if we look here, your results are not directly just caused by your actions, which technically they are, but what causes your actions? And it could be your feelings. For instance, how are you feeling? Are you feeling motivated? Are you feeling not motivated? Are you feeling comfortable versus not comfortable, etc.? What determines your feelings are your thoughts, as far as what you're focusing on, and then what determines your thoughts are your beliefs. And so that's the thing. A lot of people in business, they have no idea how much their beliefs are truly affecting them, because they just kind of believe what is true to be true without really taking a step back. And they're, all humans have 24 hours in the day, right? So what is the only difference between a super successful person versus a non-successful person? For instance, let's just take Elon Musk for example. Love him or hate him, but you can't deny that he's accomplished some pretty amazing things in his life. And really, yes, he takes massive action, but before he even has that action, he has very, very strong beliefs about the world and what he wants to accomplish, and also how he sees the world, which then goes into thoughts and then into feelings and into action. And the only difference between someone like that versus a completely normal person is just the beliefs they choose to live by. Even, for instance, some people are well, I would never work 80 hours a week because, balance, blah, 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 blah. But Elon Musk is he believes that there is no such thing as balance. He only likes to work for the most part. He does spend time with his family and stuff. I'm not saying for you to believe that you should never have downtime. That's not what I'm saying. All I'm saying is to at least recognize that your beliefs have a major impact on how you're going to live your life. So at least be conscious of what beliefs you tell yourself, because whatever you believe to be true will be true for your life. So just, have that in the back of your head. Also, I do kind of want to get into this. I am nowhere near a mindset coach. I practice mindset stuff a lot, but I wouldn't say I'm anywhere close to being a mindset coach. So I'm only going to be going over things that I've found to be helpful in my life and in my business. Over time, I definitely want to get some actual mindset coaches on here that can be of a lot more value than myself, but I'm just going to do my best with my knowledge that I have right now. Anyways, we can't wait on your feelings to feel good before action. We have to be able to influence the things that we can actually influence, which is your beliefs and your thoughts. Although it's hard, we can change beliefs and we can change the thoughts that we're choosing to have, because at the end of the day, we're the ones that are choosing to have those beliefs and thoughts. So power of the mind. So one of my favorite quotes, literally of all time, is by Tony Robbins. And what Tony Robbins said is, where focus goes, energy flows. And when I first heard this, it didn't really make any sense to me. It kind of made sense because it's well, if you're focusing on getting better, then you're going to get better. But I didn't really understand how profound this was until basically the longer and longer that I'm in business and use this stuff to my advantage, is when I really started to notice that like what I focus on really matters. I have a couple examples just to kind of show you guys what I'm talking about. So I live in Colorado, and here in the wintertime it gets very icy and very snowy. And so we get a lot of bad road conditions every single winter. And I know a lot of you guys might live in warmer climates, which is totally fine, but just kind of humor me for a second. So in driving school in a cold weather climate, one of the most important aspects of that is that they teach us how to drive under really bad circumstances. Because, anyone can basically drive on a highway where there's no other cars, but like the more complexity that you add, the harder it gets. And one of the hardest situations that you could deal with in driving is if you're skidding out, like on a road. And what they told me in driving school, I've noticed it applies a lot more to just driving, but they said if you ever start to skid out and your car is like doing circles and like you have no control over your car whatsoever, even if you're just like starting to slide a little bit to one side, instead of focusing on what you might hit, like a tree or like a median or something like that, you need to stare at where you want to go. If you stare at what you want to go, I know I'm like kind of small on the screen here, but like if I'm looking like this, then my arm will automatically move to the side and steer my car in the direction that I want. And so that's just a small example. Another big example is high-level athletes use this all the time. People like Kobe Bryant, Michael Jordan, they didn't just walk out onto courts and never visualize their success. So before they ever had success, they visualized themselves over and over and over of like themselves like holding up the championship trophy of what it was going to feel like. Or even just in like very specific examples, like Michael Jordan would always visualize in practice, not just like shooting like it meant nothing, but like he would artificially in his mind like have a countdown timer like, 3, 2, 1, game-winning shot. And like that's why he was so good at those really clutch things, because they were always so focused on visualizing what they wanted. And again, where focus goes, energy flows. Like they were focused on the actual things that mattered and extremely focused. They're extreme examples. All links and book examples, speaking of which, if you guys want to read more on this. Then my last example, I'll keep this one short here. This is already going a lot longer than what I thought. A car example, and what I mean by that is my wife just got a Jeep Grand Cherokee. I used to like literally never see people driving Grand Cherokees, but now that my wife has one, like I literally feel like every single person under the sun owns a Grand Cherokee. It's like ridiculous. As I'm driving, I see them everywhere. And what that just kind of shows is, again, what you're focusing on, you'll get. So for instance, you can apply this to business, right? Because if you're focused on good things like solutions, like say for instance, if you're having problems with sales and you're focusing on getting better at sales, you will find things in life simply because you are looking for it. Versus if you were never open to it, you would have never seen it. Just like the car example, wherever you're focusing on, it's kind of crazy and it sounds stupid, but it will literally draw things to you that you're focusing on. So focus on things that you want, because then all of a sudden solutions will be coming to you and you're going to be heading in the right direction. And then my last thing that I wanted to talk about as far as the power of the mind is, I know this sounds crazy, especially if you've never heard of this before, but I encourage you to look it up on YouTube of these different experiments. Just look at like plant thought experiment on YouTube or ice thought experiment on YouTube, etc. There's like a million different versions of this. But essentially what this experiment does is, I'll just do the plant experiment, for example. They would be growing a plant, and from one packet of seeds, they would grow 3 different plants. They'd have like one that they labeled neutral, one that they labeled love, and another that they labeled hate. And basically every single day when they were growing these plants, they would speak at the plants the way that they were labeled. So the plant that was labeled hate, for 1 minute a day, the owner of this would go to the plant and be like, oh, you're so disgusting, you're ugly, you're weak, you're all the negative things you could possibly think of. They would tell that to that plant. To the other plant, neutral, they wouldn't say anything. And then to the one with love labeled on it, they would say, you're beautiful, you're strong, you're amazing, you're all these things. And it's crazy because over time, like, over like the next 2 months as the plant is developing, the plant that had like the hate on it, like literally barely survived and was super ugly and gross and all these things. The neutral looks like a normal plant, and the love plant looks like, I mean, it was like literally something out of like a movie. It was like pristine. And again, this isn't just done with plants. It's done with like freezing ice. It's done with vegetables. I mean, it's done with all different kinds of things. And look it up for yourself. Don't take my word to believe it. And even if you do believe this and you're like, Tyler, so what? Just realize that if your thoughts can do that to something so simple like a plant, just realize that like whatever thoughts you're having is going to determine the outcome that you're going to have in life. And if your thoughts do produce real physical change, like in the physical world, like in like the material world, then you better be having some good thoughts and not bad ones. That's all I got to really say about that. So how does this apply to business? So our beliefs either hold us back or they propel us forward. Some of you may know this example, but just in case you don't, when I first approached Caesar, my father-in-law, to get in the concrete business with him in 2018, he was very excited because he knew that I was good at business, or at least he thought I did, because I had a stupid bounce house business and I was a part of a marketing company. But I'll never forget what he said. He told me, he said, well, Tyler, instead of doing concrete company, even though he was already really good at concrete, why don't we do a moving company? And I was like, I don't really understand like why you're asking me to do a moving company. But when I dug a little bit deeper, it's because I realized that he had already been beat up for like, at that point, it was like 4 years of working in concrete and basically making no progress. He just came to believe that like the concrete business was never a good business model. And so that's the crazy part, right? Like, if I'm not saying like I'm a godsend to my father-in-law or anything like that, but what I helped my father-in-law change was his belief that concrete business was even viable. And because of that, then we took massive action, and now we're at where we're at today. And so that's kind of an extreme example, but belief goes on something that's even like much, much smaller. Like even when it comes to like, if you believe that your company is very valuable, or that like you are a very good company for your customers, that is going to come off in a lot more confidence in yourself, in your product, and in your business. So it could even improve things like sales. Belief leads to different types of decisions that you make. Like for instance, like hiring. If you have the belief that no other concrete person is as good as you, and there never will be another concrete person as good as you, and that it's useless to try to train people, well, guess what? You're never going to grow, because that's the belief that you've made to be true, even though other companies all over the world have proved it to be true, that it's possible to bring other people on board that are very good at concrete. But you may not take any action if you believe that to not be true. Even like marketing, I hear people all the time, they say, well, I've tried marketing, it didn't work. And I'm like, what? I'm like, what does that even mean, you've tried marketing? I'm like, it's kind of crazy, because I totally understand, like, if you don't know what you're doing, it's kind of like if a customer poured their own driveway, and the driveway looks like absolute and they're like, well, I've tried concrete, and concrete sucks. It's like, well, dude, concrete's fine, but, like, you sucked at laying concrete. A lot of people give up on a lot of things in business because of battle scars, or they may not just, like, believe them to be true for whatever reason. And in reality, they hold themselves back from making proper business decisions because of improper beliefs. So the whole point of this is just to realize, like, if you believe something to be true, really question yourself and ask if it is 100% true, or if it's just you putting a box around your reality that you're comfortable with. Kind of leads me to my next point, which, what is the definition of insanity? And I'm sure we've all heard this, but the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result, which is crazy to me how many people actually do that. So very first step to change into improvement is to change your mind. That's from Albert Einstein himself. First things first, if your mind is giving you a certain outcome and you don't want that outcome anymore, first step is to change your mind. A lot of people try to change the outcome, but what they don't realize is their mind is the thing that's actually holding them back. So first step is change your mind, change your beliefs, and then the rest follows. Your actions will change, the results will change, all of that will change. Always change belief first. So here's my concluding thoughts. Instead of automatically assuming something isn't possible, ask how it can be possible. The most successful people in life are resourceful. They don't have abundant resources. Kind of like what I talked to you guys about before. Everyone has the same amount of time in the day. Certain people are just a lot better at allocating their time and using leverage. But what really, really successful people always have in common is they don't think that many things are impossible. They have very good beliefs about the world and what is and is not possible. And they ask themselves how things can be possible, not automatically assuming that things aren't possible. So very last thing is applications. If you hadn't, I highly suggest reading the book called Think and Grow Rich. It's one of my favorite books of all time. And if you've read it, but you don't follow the steps, or at least have tried the steps consistently, you didn't do that, then essentially you just wasted your time. So like, don't read this book if you don't plan on following the steps. This is literally probably one of the most successful financial books and personal help books of all time. I think it was written like 80 years ago, and it's still extremely popular today, and it's because that has universal truth in it. I would say that's one of the most impactful things that I've ever done, and it has all to do with mindset and how you can use mindset to grow rich. So kind of like what we're talking about today. A reminder, focus on what you want, not what you don't want. And start to question your beliefs you believe to be true. That's what gave you your current reality. So just remember that whatever reality you have now, you're going to have to change your beliefs about what got you there in order to get you to the next step. So this was just kind of like an introduction on mindset and some different things that I've worked on over the years. I hope it helps you guys, and I'll see you guys in the next video.